All right, let's talk about managing ADHD at work. We're going to build a practical toolkit full of actionable stuff that you can actually use to make a real difference. So let's just dive right in.
Okay, so here's the game plan. First, we'll get real about the challenges, what it actually looks like at work. Then, we'll get into the solutions, our three main tools: medication, therapy, and some killer workplace strategies. And to wrap it all up, we'll look at how you can mix and match these to create a plan that's perfect for you.
All right, first things first, the workplace challenge. I mean, before we can even talk about solutions, we've got to get a clear picture of what we're up against, right? How does ADHD actually show up day to day on the job?
So let me ask you, does any of this sound familiar? That feeling of struggling to focus, always racing against deadlines, or just feeling like your desk and your brain is in a constant state of chaos? You're not alone. It's an incredibly common and, yeah, super frustrating experience.
And these are the big ones, right? We're talking about that monumental effort to just sustain focus through a boring meeting or a long report. Or the classic struggle with organizing a big project. That feeling the time is just evaporating. And oh, that last 10% of any task, that final hurdle to actually get something done, yeah, put it all together and it can really take a toll on your productivity.
Okay, so that's the problem. Now let's get to the solutions. Let's open up our toolkit, and the very first tool we're pulling out is medication. This is all about working with the underlying brain chemistry to help dial in that focus.
When you look at ADHD meds, they pretty much fall into two big categories: stimulants and non-stimulants. Now, they work in different ways and are better for different situations, so it's really important to understand the difference. Let's break it down.
So you can see the main differences right here. On one hand, you've got stimulants. Think Adderall, Ritalin. The big plus? They work fast, like same-day fast, and they give you really strong, reliable control over symptoms. The catch is they're a controlled substance. Then you have the non-stimulants, like atomoxetine. These take a little longer to kick in, maybe a few weeks, but they're a fantastic option if you also deal with anxiety and they aren't a controlled substance. So, some real trade-offs to consider.
Look, medication can be a game changer, for sure, but it's rarely the whole solution. For real long-term success, you got to build some skills. And that brings us to the second tool in our kit: therapy. Specifically, we're talking about cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, and how it helps you create habits that actually stick.
So what even is CBT for ADHD? Well, forget what you might see in movies. This isn't about lying on a couch talking about your childhood. It's super practical, all about solving problems right now. It's this hands-on approach where you and a therapist literally design systems and build skills to help you manage ADHD's impact at work.
And the whole focus is on stuff you can actually use. We're talking about building time management systems that aren't just generic advice, but that are designed for your brain. It's about learning how to prioritize when you have a million things screaming for your attention. It's about tackling procrastination head-on. And this is a big one. It really helps with emotional regulation, that roller coaster of feelings that can sometimes be a hidden part of ADHD.
Okay, I really want to pause here because this next idea is maybe the most important takeaway of this whole thing. Ready? Medication reduces symptoms. Structure reduces impairment. Let that sink in. Medication can help clear the fog in your brain, but it's the structure you build around yourself that gives you the map to get through your day successfully.
And that idea, that's the perfect bridge to the third and final tool in our kit: essential workplace strategies. This is the how-to for building that structure we were just talking about. It's all about designing an environment that works with you, not against you.
So what does this structure look like in real life? Well, here are some of the building blocks. Things like calendar blocking, with reminders that pop up and tell you what to do next. Or just good old-fashioned written task lists, getting all those swirling to-dos out of your head and onto paper. Breaking down huge, overwhelming projects into tiny, bite-sized steps. Simple things like using noise-canceling headphones to create your own quiet space. Even scheduling quick check-ins with your supervisor can create that external accountability you need.
Okay, so we've got our three core tools: medication, skills from therapy, and those structural strategies. So for our final section, let's pull it all together. How do you actually combine these things into a plan that works?
Let's boil this down to its simplest form. First up, medication. That's your tool for managing the internal stuff, your brain chemistry.
And then there's structure. All those strategies and skills we talked about, that's your tool for managing the external world, all the deadlines, the projects, the distractions. And here's the key: you really need both.
So, what's the bottom line here? Well, first, know that ADHD at work is super common. Stimulants? Yeah, they're incredibly effective for a lot of people.
Non-stimulants? A really solid alternative. But the most important thing to remember is that you can't skip the skill building and the structure. They are absolutely crucial. And that's why, for most people, the magic is in the combination of these approaches.
And really, that's the ultimate message here. There's no magic pill or single solution that works for everyone. True success comes from taking these different tools and creating a personalized combo, a system that's built just for you, for your unique brain, and for the demands of your job.
So I'll leave you with a question. Think about all those strategies we just talked about, that whole structural toolkit. What's one small thing, the first small step you could take, maybe even today, to start building a better structure for yourself? Thanks for tuning in.